With Authors fans, we have some pretty big news from your host here, Erica Lance. We are moving to change the format of the show to be one episode. So there's a few episodes that were recorded the old way that we're doing the new way, and that's what you're listening to. So thank you. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we love having you as fans. On to the show.
This podcast could potentially have adult language, adult themes, definitely drinking, and possibly the possibility of sexual content. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to Drinking with Authors. I am your host, Erica Lance. My co-host today is the amazing Danielle Orsino, and our guest today is Hollis Joe McCollum.
Oh, did you freeze?
That's okay, Hollis. How you doing?
I froze. Go team. That's the kind of day I'm going to have today. It's okay. It's fine. Let's talk about what we're drinking. So I am drinking Beach Haven Vineyards Winery Blackberry wine. I found it in my fridge. I hope it's still good. And then I'm drinking it at
Oh no.
That's okay. She'll come back, believe me, and she'll tell us all about what she's drinking and what she's drinking it out of.
Okay.
So we'll get back there in a second. But I'm not that fancy, but I'm fancy in what I drink it out of. I'm just drinking clearly Canadian water, raspberry, but I'm drinking it out of my dragon goblet that Erica actually got me for Christmas.
Beautiful.
So, you know, yes,
Beautiful.
I have to be fancy schmancy, even though I'm just drinking sparkling water. Hollis, what are you drinking today?
Well, I am also going non-alcoholic today. I am drinking my very pretentious London cup of tea that I order from the fucking UK, and out of my my other writer's me mug, because I am also a pole dancer. So
we're gonna get into that. We're gonna have to get into that in a second.
I am far too proud of it, so please do. Yes.
Now, for everybody who doesn't know, what exactly do you write?
So I'm a fantasy adventure novelist. I have two fantasy novels out presently, and I'm publishing my third, which is the sequel to the first one, To Save a World, this spring, April. As long as I get my shit together, should be on track. And so gonna do that. And I've done some short stories, and like before I started writing books, I was academically published in a bunch of shit, but I don't think about that. It's not.
Okay. You just
well, I mean, it's
aside.
fine. It's fine. We can talk about it. History is really cool. I like it. But
Jonathan Mayberry was first published doing a book on bowling. By the way, my internet decided to jump providers, and I got Starlink, but I got a really run down version of Starlink, and for some reason my computer connected to that at first. So I was like, why is the computer unstable? That's why. But anyway, I'm back. I don't know if you guys heard what I'm drinking. It's blackberry wine. We're moving on. Jonathan Mayberry, actually, his first book he published was a book on bowling, because he was dating somebody who ran the physical education for a college, and I think we should find this book and make him sign it. So
probably.
Where did you get your root? What was your first published awesomeness that was nonfiction, obviously?
So my first published work is actually, you could still go to my alma mater university, Kennesaw State University in Kennesaw, Georgia, and pick it up. It was a guidebook for study abroad in Italy. Which I created my own internship, because, when you're doing your degree, blah, blah, you have to do an internship at the end, and they have some available, but I don't want to do any of those. Like, I was looking at them and I was like, I don't want to do any of these. Like, these are all like not my thing. And my specialization was in the ancient Mediterranean, particularly the Etruscans of Italy. And so there was a study abroad program to Italy, which I'd already been on once, which was wonderful. And I just went to the head of the department and I was like, so listen, instead of me doing those things, can I do this? And I'll like create my own internship and I'll write a guidebook for the study abroad program instead for my internship. because at the time I was proficient in Italian, not so much now. I'm half Italian, but like the proficiency has gone way downhill. And they were like, yeah, present. So I created an internship, which they still have in existence today. Still with the basic parameters, the guidebook notwithstanding. And my first published thing was right before I graduated university, the guidebook for study abroad Italy, like talking about where they should go on field trips and, you know, all the basics, like how to order tickets, what to watch out for, safety, and like how to navigate trains when everything's late all the time because it's Italy.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah. So that was my first time I was ever published.
So
wow.
When you did that, how was that? Because obviously that's different than a novel, right? You were doing it for a specific purpose, but what was it like when you were published and you had the book and all of that?
I thought it was the coolest thing ever, you know, like, because like most writers, I of course wanted to write ever since I was a little kid, and I like did little short story contests and blah blah blah. But actually having like a physical entity that you created, you like birthed from your mind, and then somebody cared enough to like bind it and put a cover on it, and like, oh, that was special. That was special. Like I wish, I mean, it was way before smartphones and social media. So like, I can't say that I have pictures because I don't anymore. I know I took a picture, but I don't know where that film camera photo has gone, unfortunately.
Do you still have the book or no?
I don't have my copy anymore. I can go to the university and get one, which I actually still live in. I've moved around a bit, and that's how the book got lost. My copy, because like when you're moving between states and countries, I also lost my printed degree. I don't have that.
Well, it sounds like a trip to our lovely friends over at the university should happen in order to get both these items, the printed degree and a copy of your guidebook.
I should do that. I'm also, we'll see. I don't know. They asked me the last time I went, they were like, well, and I love my alma mater. I was happy I went to school there, and I actually worked on the campus as an immigration officer for 7 years. But then when I was like, hey, can I get a copy of that thing that I wrote? And also, can I like get another copy of my degree? Because I just fucking lost it. They were like, oh yeah, give us like $300. I was like,
no.
Did you look on eBay? That's what I would say.
No, yeah, it was only printed by the university, so to be used by like basically as a textbook, because I because I even have like, Italian phrases they would need and stuff. So like you can't get it outside of the university.
eBay, and I would check textbooks.com, because as much as it's
half.com.
by the university, somebody is selling that shit they had to pay a lot of money for somewhere. Yep. You can get a copy.
I can get a copy. I'll have to give it a shot. Give it a shot. We'll see. Because I mean, honestly, it's still, that information is still useful today for people trying to get around Italy. The public transport still stands.
No, I think that is sort of like the most creative thing I've heard as far as like doing internships at colleges. That is really brilliant.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah.
And so then you wrote a bunch of technical stuff for how many years before you finally went, okay, I'll publish fiction? Okay, fine, I'll publish it.
I'll publish. Well, and I was always a huge nerd, like many writers. Like I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons and that sort of thing ever since I was, I don't know, 9, 10, something like that, with my siblings and my best friend. And my very first book that was published, fantasy novel, was actually based on a D&D game that I played with my best friend. So that's like, I just translated it, because those things don't directly translate. So I always did all that stuff. Though the technical stuff was, I published like little things here and there, because obviously when you're getting a history degree, you have to publish things to like be credible. I don't know. And little short like articles on the Etruscans, and which frankly weren't horribly difficult to get published, because there aren't many people who study the Etruscans, and the like little random journals were like, oh, the Etruscans, yeah, we want that content. That's like better than another ancient Greek article. Let's do let's do that. And So yeah, I have a few things around, but it took like, let me think. So I started, okay, how old am I? Okay. So I started writing my first, I started sitting down and actually writing my first fantasy novel in 2008. And I just was inspired to. I always liked writing and I loved that game, and I had no intention to publish. I was like, I just really loved this game. It was super fun. I'm going to write it down because I like writing. And so I wrote it down, and then I had friends and family read it. And then every single one of them told me, you need to publish this. And I said, oh, all right then. And so I, did that, and it was published for the first time in 2017. Yeah.
So wait a minute, that's 9 years. So you wrote it, and then 9 years later you published it.
Right. Well, I did. It took me 4 years to write it.
Got it. Okay.
So, because I was
I'm
not
great
doing
at the maths, and I'm super not great at the maths when I've had any wine yet whatsoever. So Danielle has to keep me straight on the math.
You're good. I'm bad at the maths too. And also I didn't give you like the full, I had blanks in there. I didn't tell you how long it took me to write it. So you were fine. That was correct with the 9-year difference.
For the first time. Let's note that down in the calendar. Danielle, I did the math correctly for the first time.
Check. we're only a couple minutes in, Erica.
Listen, I'm going to take it where I can find it. Okay.
That's right.
Good job.
You did a great job. I'm proud.
What was the publishing route you went? Did you go query? Did you find an agent? How did that work?
I went into chaos, I think is the correct terminology. So like many first-time authors, I had no idea what I was doing, like no clue. You just like, and especially since my original intention wasn't to publish, it was just like to write something down. I just was like, all right, I don't know. And so I just started Googling shit. And when you Google shit, the first thing that comes up are a bunch of vanity press things.
Mm-hmm.
And, and I filtered through most of those pretty well. But I will say, and I was, of course I had the dream of being traditionally published, which I think most authors do, especially in the beginning. I was querying crazy, and that's why it took like from 2012, which is when I finished it, which I did get it righted. Like I got the U.S. Library of Congress copyright like immediately. Mm-hmm. Because I was like I mentioned, I was at the time, I was actually still working as an immigration officer. So I at least knew enough about legal things to be like, nobody's going to steal my intellectual property. I'm taking care of this right now. And so I did that before I even started querying. Okay. So that was at least, and I know it's not necessary, but it sure makes me feel better. So I do it. But
it's necessary if you want to sue. See, a lot of people don't realize you can absolutely, when you post your manuscript anywhere, like when you upload it, and you can even take a screenshot with the date and like, I uploaded it on this day to this system, like Amazon, wherever the hell, if you want to self-publish, right? Mm-hmm. Which is fine. I wasn't saying that in a derogatory term, but you just track that you did that, right? And you can mail yourself a copy of the printed works, or if you have a file tag, like there's so much that goes, yes, you wrote it. It's whether or not, and I'm only highlighting this because a lot of people don't get it. If you have to go after somebody for utilizing your works or making a screenplay of it or creating a video game or whatever, blah, 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 many things somebody could do with your shit. Mm-hmm. If you don't copyright it at the U.S. Copyright Office for the United States, and there are other places internationally, but you can also do it at the U.S. Copyright Office for international things to prove that you have a certificate with that particular piece of written information, pictures, drawings, all kinds of things you can copyright, so that if somebody does something, you can sue them. Otherwise, it gets very difficult and very messy to actually do a lawsuit. So you're not incorrect in doing that, just in case somebody gets excited and decides to steal your shit.
Yeah, no, they can't. I am locked because it's not only the words are not only my intellectual property, but I designed the cover. I did the page layout. I'm a designer as you know, I didn't go to school for that, but like part of what paid for a lot of groceries in school was doing freelance art on the side. So, you know, like Princess Leia and the Gold Bikini was extremely lucrative for me in college. Like there are a lot of those drawings out there. But, and also as an artist, that's another reason why I copywrote my work, because my brother-in-law is a comic book artist and my sister is a very popular cosplayer. Heather After Cosplay now. At the time she was H Chan, but you know, whatever, like way back in the 90s, she was like one of the #1 cosplayers in the nation anyway. But they have their own website and all this other stuff, and they had a couple of their pieces stolen by some random band in New Jersey that used their artwork on their CD cover.
Oh.
And of course had no rights to do that, and you know, didn't give them even credit or anything. And like, and the whole thing is, if the band had contacted them and asked for permission and paid them appropriately, there wouldn't have been any trouble. But of course they you know, but that's another, like, that lawsuit had, you know, they won their lawsuit no contest. It was, you know, the band was, they were honestly just being completely clueless people. Like they didn't realize that they couldn't just take pictures off the internet and then paste it on their CD cover and start selling it. But yeah, that stuff, it's really important in all creative endeavor. It's like, if you made something that's yours, copyright that shit, like do it, because it, you know, some random people out in the world might even try to use it, and then you are out recognition, which is the most important thing, and possibly some money.
Yep.
Well, yeah, and I was going to say, I think the biggest thing is not only money, you know, of course money, but I feel the biggest thing is if somebody else is getting the notoriety for what you wrote.
Yes.
That's where I want to jump punch somebody. I'm like, no, I did that. Thank you. I know that because I had to trademark drinking with authors because somebody decided to make a day drinking with authors.
Oh shit.
You're going to get a cease and desist letter. It's coming. Just waiting for the official trademark to come through, because I was like, you are kidding me, right? Like, anyway, oh, dumb people. So, okay. Why did you decide to take history? I just got to ask. I loved history in high school.
Oh, nice.
You know, but what made you decide to go down the history route? Because I feel like that's one of those degrees, very much like English degree and stuff, that has two basic things you can do. You can either be a teacher or work in a museum. Like, I feel like those are your two options. Am I incorrect in that assessment?
You're not entirely incorrect. I'll be really honest with you. That is pretty much it. Well, I was as a child, like, I wanted to be Indiana Jones. First and foremost, I was not a princess child at all, ever. Like, Disney princesses, there's nothing wrong with them, but as a little kid, that was not my jam. I wanted to be like the prince in the movies. I loved the Disney movies, but I was not interested in the princesses. I was interested in the other people having the adventure most of the time. Because then again, I'm 41. Well, no, I'm 40. I'll be 41 in a couple months, but you know, whatever, we skip after a while. So I got the Disney movies before girl power for the most part. And
I agree. I mean, it's kind of like my heroes were Princess Leia and Ripley.
Ripley. Yeah.
Those are, it's kind of like when Jennifer Lawrence went on and said, you know, first action. And I was like,
no, she wasn't.
No, appreciate you, love Hunger Games, but you should actually
You're a little wrong.
Google something before you start talking on Twitter.
Maybe, you know, a few decades off beat with that, but that's fine. It's fine. But yeah, I love Indiana
Jones. Love it.
And so I just wanted to do that. And I always, and just coming up through school, history was 100% my favorite subject. I was, like I said, my mother is, she's an American, but 100% by blood. She's Italian, and her parents they came over as children, but they're first generation in the US. So we're very connected to the Italian roots. Just all of that. So I was particularly interested in Italy, and then I discovered that the Etruscans existed, and I just felt a special connection with them. And when it came time, I originally at university for the first year declared education major as a freshman, because I figured I want to teach history. But then as an education major, I like 1 year in, I realized really quickly that I did not want to teach children, because the education majors are for your elementary through high school ed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't want to teach any of these kids. Like, I don't want to deal with that shit. I don't need their hormones. I don't need their BS. I don't need it. And so I was like, I want to teach adults history. And to do that, I actually need a history degree. I don't need this bullshit education. Okay. Education degrees aren't bullshit. They're very valid. But in my case, it was not.
That wasn't your calling.
That was not my calling. So my original intention was to be like Indiana Jones was to be a professor of history. And I got the degree and I loved it. And I did like 3 study abroads, and that was great, and blah, blah, blah. But then, and I actually was thinking maybe I will work in a museum towards the end of my degree. I was thinking, but that's really hard to do.
Really?
Somebody has to die usually. Yeah. Somebody has to die usually to get into those kind of things.
Yeah. And I don't have a doctorate. I have an undergraduate specialization, like I have an undergraduate bachelor's in history with a specialization. I have a certificate and a few additional certifications in history, but I do not have a master's and I don't have a doctorate. So yeah, like nobody was terribly, they were interested in publishing some articles that I would write, but they were not interested in hiring me. And I actually, so I'm married again now, but I'm divorced. And my college first love sweetheart was Czech. And so I moved to the Czech Republic right after graduating and married him.
Wow.
And I got my TEFL certification, the Teacher of English as a Foreign Language certification. And so I was actually teaching English abroad for a year. To executives, not to children, again, not in my jam, but like I was teaching like Honeywell executives. I actually taught the president of Pilsner Urquell beer, because that's a Czech beer. And I lived in Brno, which is where the Pilsner Urquell like corporate headquarters and plant is. So I was teaching these the Coca-Cola executives. It was like I had all the high power, like cool adult clients, and they were awesome. But yeah, and then I was teaching English, and then when I came back to the States and then I got divorced, and I came back to the States, and I actually went back to just visit my old university because I worked as a student assistant in the study abroad and international office for 2 years of my education, and I just was going back to say hello to friends. And when I went there in like this terrible, it was the middle of summer, and I was in I did not look professional. I had like shorts and a tank top and some flip-flops on. I looked awful. And they were saying hi, and they were like, "Oh my God, we're hiring. Do you need a job? We are you willing to get certified as like a federal officer to be the immigration officer for our campus? Because we need a new and you with your international experience and would actually, was like, oh, shit. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And they introduced me to the director, and I'm sitting there and I'm sweaty because I was walking around. It was awful. I was like, but hey, I got the job.
That's what matters.
Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly what matters.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then, yeah, but I still to this day have never really used my degree in any professional context except to get published a couple times. And that was over a decade ago. I haven't published any academic things in a very long time.
And kids, that's why you go to college. There's the endorsement.
Yep. I enjoyed college, but I personally am a firm believer that unless you are doing something like law or medical studies or something like that. I'm sorry, can you hear my computer dinging? I am so sorry.
Not at all. Not at
Okay.
all.
Nope, you're good.
Okay, good. Because like, yeah, it's my husband. Okay. Shut up, honey. Okay,
Honey,
I'm
we're
so sorry.
not
Let me
here.
text him to stop.
I love that. Well, you know what? We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back with our new topics. Hey, listeners. You know me, Eric Lance. You're just listening to me in the podcast that you have. But guess what? I'm doing something new.
Yeah, she's joining me, Mark Muncy, the author of the Erie, Florida book series in Erie, Appalachia, and we are hosting a new podcast called Erie Travels.
Woo-woo! Erie Travels, which covers things like ghosts, cryptids, weird stuff, UFOs, men in black, all kinds of fun things that people talk about, and I'm sure you've discussed with friends.
Yep, and you can listen to us on your favorite podcast platform of choice, or find us at erietravels.com and join in the fun and all the spooky goodness.
And of course, Mark, what do we always say?
We'll see you on the other side.
We're back. I actually agree with you on college. I used to work at a volunteered at a high school, and we taught this program called Center for Academic Business Administration and Management or something like that. It's called CABAM. But one of the big things I pushed is you don't have to go to college. You have to figure out what you want to be, at least initially, not forever, but initially, and then learn how to do that. The amount of people that don't go to trade school, for instance, because somehow that got made to be frowned upon, like being a mechanic or an electrician or a carpenter or a welder or like many other things that are trade schools, horrifies me, because now trying to find these people is almost near impossible because there aren't any new ones being made. And the ones that are there are retiring. And I'm like, you can make more money than with a business degree being an electrician or being a carpenter or being a plumber or being a add-on to that particular situation. And general contractors get paid more than lawyers sometimes. And I'm like, just go to school for something cool. Plus, it needs to be something fun, because the amount of people, I used to do HR for my existence up until June of this year, and then I became full-time bum. But not really. I'm doing publication company and writing and podcasts. But, HR, the amount of business majors, architect majors, people like that I hired to do data entry or customer service, I'm like, you spent a lot of money on a degree that means absolutely nothing in the real world. And it sucks.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know,
100%
more
agree.
qualified to the jobs you're going to have to go out for. So, okay, let's talk about your actual fiction. So I love that you did a D&D campaign. I've met several authors. Jan Paquette is one of them that based her, she has a series called Cloud's Ring, and it's completely based on a Dungeons and Dragons campaign and a character she had in the Dungeons and Dragons campaign. I know this because I played it with her and I'm in the book and it's offensive, but whatever. It actually was my character, so I guess I can't be too mad. But what made you decide to go the fantasy route since you do history? So fantasy is not real history, so
God, no, it's not. But it is so much more fun in a lot of ways because literally anything can happen. That's the best thing. Literally anything you want can happen. And you know what? You can explain it by being like, magic, and then it's fine. And the reader's like, yeah, gotcha, cool, that's magic, got it. And I love it. And I as a growing up, what I was obsessed with were fantasy books. That's what I was into reading. My first book series love were the Dragonlance novels.
Oh, I love Dragonlance.
I have an entire, next to me in this bookcase, like an entire shelf is nothing but Dragonlance. Like, I love that series. I reread them constantly. And other fantasy books, you know, I read Anne McCaffrey and like all those fantasy authors that are just awesome. Terry Pratchett, all the peoples. And that was just my favorite. So when you play Dungeons and Dragons, you're playing fantasy. And you can, like, my first book, To Save a World, it is pure classical fantasy. The main characters are all elves, pretty, like really, and it's in a classical, like, British-esque world as far as forests and everything are concerned. And it's it's very it's a post-apocalyptic fantasy world, but there's it's definitely more classical in all the themes and everything else. And my second book is a historical fantasy, but it's definitely still very fantasy because I basically take the Etruscans of ancient Italy, who have, again, obsessed with that, and I created a race of people around that were the Etruscans, and they had magic, and it's all this, and I have a lot of historical Easter eggs in Spare the Swallow, my second book, which has nothing to do with the first one, two totally different fantasy worlds. But yeah, that one I got most of my inspiration from history, but it's definitely fantasy. Like, do not quote my timelines. Do not, because somebody, I think it was my husband, was like, oh, so like this happened in this year, and I was like, no, honey. Like that, I yes, King Cyrus of Babylon is in the book, but he didn't actually live at the exact same time that these other things are happening. Like, this is a fantasy novel. I need you to understand that I was inspired, and I took some characters and some events that happened, and I put a whole fantasy spin on it and created some cool, like, magic people. But this is not like, don't start building timelines here unless you're don't
take this as fact.
Yeah, do not take this as fact. If you're a historian reading it, you'll find some Easter eggs, like cultural Easter eggs, is like how the Etruscans would do divination is the same way that, I named them the Docvens. The Docven race does divination and blah, blah, blah. Like, the cultural things are all they're the same. But it's definitely not accurate.
So are you, and I may have missed this, or the wine may be kicking, and I should have probably eaten before this, but it's fine. It's fine. Are you traditionally published or self-published?
I am self-published. Oh, and actually I tend to go on tangents.
We went off.
Yeah, I did.
Okay. I was like, did I miss that conversation?
I did. Yeah. I'm a tangent girl. So the first To Save a World, I actually ended up getting published by a vanity press that they were not my favorite. So I was independently published. They contractually did everything that they said, and I actually didn't spend as much money as other people do.
Oh, yeah. No, stay away from vanity presses.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
For people.
Yeah, don't do it. It's basically a scam, even though contractually, again, they contractually did everything they said they would do. And I own my ISBN number, thank goodness. But that was one of my things but I think I got taken in by that for my first book. And this is, to all, newbie would-be authors out there. Mm-hmm. I very much wanted someone to hold my hand through the process.
Yeah.
And that is why because I like many people, by the time I was publishing, I was in my mid-30s. I was tired, and I was working full time, and it was like, can somebody just do this fucking for me? Please? I don't want you. I'm tired. And by the time I get home after working my 10-hour day, I just want it done. Yeah.
Somebody do it.
Yeah, somebody else please do it. And traditional
I already wrote it.
I'm going to throw this out here. There are hybrid publishers, and that's what a hybrid publisher actually is. A lot of people don't realize is somebody where you do pay a certain amount to get your book published, but that's very different than a vanity press.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are in that state and you really want help and you really feel the need to go that route, find a hybrid publisher, not a vanity press. Because a vanity press basically has a bunch of check boxes to get a book done, and then they throw it out there and it's done. But that's all they're doing, and they're usually you're paying a lot of money and you're not necessarily getting a great product for the amount of money you're going to spend to do it, because they could give a shit if your book sells because you've already paid them money. Whereas a hybrid publisher sometimes actually is invested in your book selling because they'll make even more money from it. They just want some money up front. I'm still not a fan of that, but if you absolutely have to go that route, find a hybrid and not a vanity.
Right.
And research the vanity. Research the vanity, because nowadays they're also wording themselves differently. So you don't exactly know their vanity. And then it's like, oh no, we do distribution, we'll help you. You got to do it. If they hand you a bill for like 16, 17 grand at the end of it, or up to 30 grand, they're vanity.
Yes.
That's how it is.
Yeah.
They're vanity.
Yeah. Vanity presses are, I paid less than $3,000 for all, when all was said and done, for the vanity press, which is,
you got a good deal.
And part of the reason I got a good deal was because I designed my own cover and everything, because they were like, oh, well, they actually had a designer on their staff do it. And I was like, and again, I'm not a professional designer, but at the time, this was after I left the immigration job, I was working as a project manager at a design and branding agency. I knew what I was talking about because I did it every single day for 5 years. I was a PM for designers. So like, I knew exactly what all that was. And I know good design versus bad. And they sent me something that I was like, a fucking 12-year-old who has never used Photoshop before could have done a better job than this shit right here. Like, and I said, listen, you're going to take this off the cost, because here is my designed, like I already had some concepts, and I was like, here is my designed cover. Here is my designed page layout, because I don't even want you touching that shit. And and they, so that I got a lot knocked off because I got that taken care of. And because I had already copyrighted my manuscript before doing anything, even before making inquiries, they actually, because they were going to try to charge me for copyright too. That's something else. Is even any time, not just any like vanity press, but even the hybrid presses, especially if you have a certain skill set, just to listeners in general, like if you see things, make sure that like, if you can do it on your own, I recommend that you do, because you actually care more than they do.
Not only that, you should copyright it yourself, because independent presses, traditional presses, all these things will copyright it in their fucking name, and it's then theirs, and you lose your stuff. That's one of the first questions you should ask anybody who wants to publish you is, are you going to copyright it in my name? And if they say yes, well, do you mean at the U.S. Copyright Office? Ask what that means, because if they're just going to throw the little C on it, you could do that yourself and they'll charge you for it, or they'll copyright it in their name, and then you lose that book and can never get it again because it doesn't belong to you, it belongs to them.
Yep. And that's the same with the ISBN number. Make sure, no matter who is publishing you, I don't care if it's a traditional or blah, 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 you got to own that ISBN number. That is your intellectual property. And if they say that they're going to purchase it for you, you still have to make sure that it's in your name and not the press's name.
So they can't purchase it and put it in your name. I don't know if you know that. As a publisher, I know this. As a publisher, you can buy the ISBN yourself and have it, and it's yours. But like, I can't put an ISBN in an author's name. It has to be in my company's name.
Oh.
You can transfer it
I've always bought my own, so I didn't.
If you buy your own, you're good. There's a lot of things with an ISBN. ISBNs are not make or break, because as long as you know the ISBN, and you know, for instance, on Amazon, and Barnes and Noble and Kobo and the main big ones, iBooks and stuff like that, because I hate to say they're like 95% of the market share, and then there's everyone else. You can still retain your reviews and stuff like that, which is what's important. So you don't have to have the ISBN going into it, because you're going to need a new ISBN if you republish it, because you can't republish the same book under the same thing.
Right.
That's a whole, we're not going to get into technical things, because we need to talk about a stripper pole that's behind you. But
Yeah.
so you're now going into your third book?
I'm publishing my third book, which is, so the first book, To Save a World, it is a one-off. There is no cliffhanger, I promise. But at the end, like my readers, like strangers, my friends and family too, but like strangers on the internet were actually writing reviews saying, I want a sequel. I want to know what happens next. And which was really cool. And like people would randomly reach out to me on social media and be like, so when's the next one coming out? I want to know what happens with the characters that survived, like what's going on. And I was like, oh, I so did not intend to do that, but because of reader demand and frankly, because I did decide after publishing my first book, I said, as a kid, I wanted to be an author. I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to be Indiana Jones too, but like, I should just do this. I should just pursue that dream. And apparently I'm good at it because people say I'm good at it. So I'm going to trust them. And, and so I started writing the sequel, a couple years ago, and it's completely done. I'm still getting, like, it's edited for the most part. Right now, I have one of my friends who's a really good editor doing a final pass on it, and she's amazing because she's finding shit like an extra space between words, like the stuff that's so hard to see. I love it. She finds that stuff, and so I love it so much. Thank you, Angie. Just shout out to you. And so she's doing like my little final editing, like miscellaneous tweaks. I've already designed the cover, which I'm going to be doing a cover reveal in the next couple weeks for it. It's called The Queen Witch. And it is a sequel to Save a World. So the characters that survived the first book are all back in the next book. And it's now, keeping in mind these characters are elves. So like they live in that series and the world that I created, I think elves have an 800-year lifespan. So it's 20 years later, but that's like 5 years, like 3 to 5 years in the elf time passing, like age differences and things like that. So some time has passed, but it's not that long. And so yeah, I'm really excited about it.
So did you write this one with the next one in mind?
I did. So this one I am actually starting. I have decided that I am going to make it a series. The fantasy world this is all based in is called Rashan, Raashan, something that I just like made. I said a word, I said a sound, and I was like, yeah, that works for a world name, and I wrote that shit down. It's fine. Like many fantasy authors do, and they're like, what sounds like a okay, yeah. And
yep, that works.
Yep, that's the name of the world. But so that is the one, and I'm creating a series called the Rashan series, and I am really, really excited. And I'm actually re-releasing, and I'm getting a new ISBN number, the first book, To Save a World, because number one, legally I don't have to worry about the contract with the Vanity Press anymore, and that expired like 2 or 3 years ago. And number two, I wanted the covers to look like a set. So I have redesigned the cover for To Save a World, and I'm going to re-release that one about a month after I release The Queen Witch in April. And they're going to look like a beautiful, like, little box set. And I'm bringing back numbers on the spine because I don't know why we ever stopped doing that.
We do that as a publisher because, by the way, librarians want that. Just anybody paying attention, they want that. And if it's series, they want the series name displayed on the damn book, because otherwise you have no idea what goes with what.
Yes. Thank you. And thank you for doing that as a publisher, because it's just like, I was like, why do we not do these things? And the whole, like, when you open like the first couple pages before, you know, you get to the reading part where they have like other books in the series, and you have that page that just has all of the books in the series listed in order. Like, why have we stopped? So,
well, that used to be a Harlequin thing, and Tor and some other places did it. So we throw it in the back of the book, which is all the books in the series, all the books by the author, and all the books similar to the ones by the author that you may also like.
that's good. I like that a lot.
Well, that's how I found when I picked up the Veil of the Void by Pierce Anthony, which was one of the first fantasy books I ever read. And it was mid-series, but I could go in and find that it was mid-series. Luckily, his books are all written that you don't actually have to know anything that happened before. But so it's mid-series, and I was able to find it. And then in the back were all these other books that were fantasy books that I could go find. And at the time, there was not a computer. There was libraries, and there was, card catalogs, but there wasn't a card catalog that said, fantasy books. Like, you had to know what you were looking for to go find the fucking card, to go find the book on the shelf.
You need to know a title and an author.
Yeah. But it's interesting because talking to librarians, we were at the American Librarians Association conference. We talked there, which was weird because I think they were like, who the fuck are these guys? But one of the things we did is we did like an Ask Me Anything, and we asked the librarians, like, what do you actually want? And they want, yep, there it is. They want book club questions. By the way, authors out there listening, they want book club questions in the back of the book, about 10 of them at least.
Oh, nice.
They want other books in the series so they know. They want the number prominently displayed on the side because they want to actually help the library system, words, whatever, something like that, be able to tell what, are they in a series, what book in the series is it? So when people are looking, they understand what they're looking at. And there's a ton of book clubs that are associated with libraries, and there's a ton of book clubs. There's a website called bookclub.org or .com, and I've drunk a lot of wine, so I don't remember. But literally, you can sign up for a book club online and find other people that want to join your book club and talk about your book if you're an author in the book club. Or get a bunch of authors and create
notes right now. I want you to know that.
That's fine. Take notes. But I mean, that's part of the reason I do this podcast. But you can do that. And book clubs want your questions and stuff like that. They don't want to just, ask. I mean, they'll come up with stuff, the clever ones, but some of them are like me and they drink wine when they're doing book clubs. And so they want to just look in the back and go, what did you think of this character? And blah, blah, blah. Because, and it's little stuff, but I think, for me at least, one of the reasons I did that, one of the reasons I think it's important is there's so many people that I love to read, but when I start to read, I'm like, what is the next fucking book in this goddamn series? And then I'm like doing this whole Google rabbit hole, because you can't even tell on fucking Amazon which book is which book on the series because they don't have them labeled properly. And so I'm like, I give up. I've read this one or two of them because I figured it out, but I can't find book fucking 3. So, and there's like 10 in the series.
Right. Well, and there's that actually. So I don't know if it's more of a sci-fi series, but the Chronicles of St. Mary's by Jodi Taylor series. It's about time traveling historians. It's amazing. It's wonderful. It like draws you right in. There's like she's still writing it. Currently, there are like 16 or 17 published books in the series. I'm on like book 10 or 11. I forget which one. I have to check. But every time I go to like read the next one, because it's such a good series, I'm so involved. Like it's really, really like engaging and cool. And it's one of those series where you could pick it up and read it as a one-off, but you really should start from the beginning and you like go through the whole journey with the characters, right? None of them are numbered. Every time I finish one, I'm like, I need to Google the series, find the list of the books in order, and then go back to
Kim Harrison is like that,
and be like, okay, I need one damn thing after another now, like, or whatever, like, and that is the title of the first book, One Damn Thing After Another in the series. But I love the series, but it drives me nuts. And I'm like, could you just fucking number them? Could they just like, even if they just put numbers on them, that would make my life 1,000 times easier.
That is literally, it's so fucking simple, but people don't do it. It drives me completely fucking crazy. It should be done. It's an easy thing, and we're on a tangent, and I appreciate that. Okay, so you're writing book 3. How long did it take you to write book 3?
Book 3, actually, because I got more serious. So book 3 actually took me, and I still work full time, just FYI, like I'm still working because I don't, live off of this, but I would say just over a year, maybe we can say 13 months to write it, like get it from brain to page. And I also, it takes me a little longer because I do everything by hand for the first draft.
So do I.
Yay. Okay. High five. Yes. But
High five.
yes, I feel more creative. I don't feel creative on a computer. When I am on a computer, I am in work/editing mode. I need like the connection with pen and paper and like the smell of things and all of that.
I think that's great. My only advice to you, if you want to be a writer, is must go faster. You've got to go faster than 1 a year, like minimally 2 a year, because it really, you have to feed an audience that is going to take less than potentially a couple weeks to read your book.
Oh yeah.
And if you just want to look up the reaction to George R.R. Martin's bullshit right now, we'll give you an idea of what happens when you wait to get stuff done. None of it's bad. It's just must go faster is my advice, because we have people on the show all the time. And they say, oh yeah, no, I really like, and it's great depending on what you want to do. But if you're serious about being a published author and that's like the journey you want to take, you have to go faster. Because there are people that are like, oh yeah, no, it took me about 3 years to write the last one. And I'm like, oh dear fucking God, there is no way you're going to be, whatever. And I appreciate them and I love that. And if they're retired and this is just the thing they're doing now and they want to take their time and their gardening or whatever the fuck they're doing on the side, great. But if you want to be a fucking author and want to be successful, must go faster, must have way more, sorry, I dropped something, published work. That's what has to happen.
And that is excellent advice. And I thank you for that, because it is, yeah, that is absolutely true. And that's one of the things I'm working on, because I'm actually, since the Queen Witch is in editing, and it's been like, I've been designing and editing it, like I actually almost immediately started writing my 4th novel, which is,
that's what you have to do.
yeah, the second in the other series. For Spare the Swallow is the origin story of the second series that I'm writing, and which I will number all of those as well. And then and then it goes through, like all of that. But I have my schedule, and people are like, oh my God, you're crazy. Like, and I'm like, no, I have to, because I work full time. I work from home, thank goodness, because I don't have to factor in commuting. But I teach dance classes, like, I not all the time, but like once or twice a week, I'm teaching dance as well. So I have like 40 hours a week I'm working, and then I immediately will like log off of work computer, and then I go and I'm like 2 hours of writing every day. I try 2 hours of related, like if I don't have the brain for it, but then all of Saturday, like 8 hours of my Saturday, that's writing. I'm trying. I gotta go faster.
Faster and faster. Danielle, how many books have you published in the last 3 years?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you have 7 already.
Oh,
so we've published 6 and 7 is in editing. Yes. That's
just to give you a little motivation, my friend, as somebody who handwrites her stuff, must go faster. My Jeff Goldblum advice of the day.
That is an excellent.
This is all very cool. We're going to have to wrap up soon, my friend. So let's get a little, and we're going to ask about the poll in the Literary Briefs episode. Let's get your shameless self-promotion about both your books and where to find them and how to locate you on social media, the writer you and not the real you. Please do not give away your address. That's
I will not. I don't do that. No. But the books are, the first one is To Save a World, which is the first book in the Rashawn series that you could purchase on Amazon. You can honestly, you can purchase it on barnesandnoble.com as well. And you can find it on Goodreads, that sort of thing. Those are probably the easiest places. There are some other random online retailers that carry them, and you can order it from any bookstore in the world because it's on the Ingram list. So you can just like go in and be like, that one, and they'll order it for you. And it's available via ebook. And then the second book, Spare the Swallow, which was just released October of last year of 2022. That one is also available, barnesandnoble.com, amazon.com. That one's only paperback right now. I'm working on the ebook. And because again, I do my own layouts, so it takes a little longer for me to design everything. And that one is, I love that one. That one is, again, historical fantasy based on the ancient Greco-Roman world, the ancient Etruscans. And so you get a lot of that infused with magic, and there's war and genocide, unfortunately. And it gets really dark. To Save a World is a little lighter. I'll be honest. I'm like, 13-year-olds can read To Save a World, and it's totally cool. It's totally cool. Spare the Swallow, like, I would have read it at the age of 13.
So will most 13-year-olds. You say that, but I read Clan of the Cave Bear when I was 11. So I think that we absolutely have a different version as we get older of what we think younger people should be reading than what they actually do and what they want to read. So I would put a disclaimer, because also putting a disclaimer, they're going to go fucking read it because you put a disclaimer on it.
I did. Hey, maybe that's a marketing tactic. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, it's well, I will say that Spare the Swallow is a little bit more of a trigger warning, just because it is war and genocide. And for people who, like, you know, if that's a trigger for them, then chill. Like, you know, that one is a little scary. That one does. I've had many people DM me and actually say, you just made me fucking cry. I had to put the book down. I threw it across the room. Like, Spare the Swallow, I get a lot of DMs about people saying, I am crying. How dare you? I'm going to finish it, but I can't right now. I'm so mad at you. Also, I love your book. And then which is like the biggest compliment you can ever get, but it's very emotional. So I will say that. You can find me on social media. On Instagram is where you can find me the most, which is at Hollis Joe McCollum. I try to keep everything easy. My website is hollisjoemccullumauthor.com, and pretty much anything, just Hollis Joe McCollum, and Joe is J-O. It's like, you know, the feminine version, like Debbie Joe or something.
Joe from Facts of Life, the whole thing.
Yeah, it's drop that E. There's no E, but yeah, and also if you Google me, like, it's not a common name. So if you Google Hollis Joe McCollum, you're pretty much just going to find me, which is good, because I want to be found as an author. So, and I have like an Author Central page on Amazon, and so you can follow me, and I'll post my bookie nonsense there.
Very, very cool. Well, thank you so much for being on the show with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I've really enjoyed it, and I've learned.
You've learned and you've taught. It's both brilliant. Hello, Drinking with Authors fans. This is your host, Erica Lance. Because of the change of the format of the show, welcome to the Literary Briefs portion. Enjoy. Welcome to Drinking with Authors, the Literary Briefs edition. I'm going to try to remember this entire intro. My name is Erica Lance. My co-host today is the fabulous Danielle M. Orsino, and our guest today is Hollis Joe McCollum. Okay, let's talk about what we're drinking, because I can do that since my internet is actually working now. I am drinking, as you can tell, I possibly opened this today. It's called Beach Haven Vineyards Winery, and this is their blackberry. And they are actually in Clarksville, Tennessee. My daughter got this for me when she was in the military. She's a combat medic. And I realized I hadn't drank it because it was in my fridge in the back. And that's where I always find my beverages. And I'm drinking it out of my, also provided by my daughter, Best Fucking Meemaw Ever cup, which you can't really see exactly, but it does say that, I promise.
Very nice.
Okay, I'm not making that up. Danielle, what are you drinking, my love?
I'm going non-alcoholic today. Clearly Canadian country raspberry water, sparkling water. But here's the special part. I'm drinking it out of my dragon goblet that you got me for Christmas.
I did. Oh my God, that's absolutely beautiful, because I did not see it live in person before it arrived. I love that.
So I'm very fancy.
Very fancy. Danielle is always way more fancy than I am. Okay. Hollis, what are you drinking, my darling?
I am drinking hot London cup of tea with done the British way, which is milk and one, which milk and one is a little bit of milk and 1 teaspoon of sugar.
Oh, very British of you. And what does your cup say for those who can't read it?
So my cup says other writers, me. Because I mean, not that I'm the best writer in the world, but I do pole dance. So
let's talk. We didn't get to talk about that.
Yeah, let's get into the pole dancing thing.
Happy to.
Let's talk about pole dancing, shall we? Because we don't get to start off most episodes doing that. So there's a pole behind you for anybody actually watching the YouTube, and a brilliant screen, which I love, by the way, with all the lights.
Thank you. It covers up the art chest where all my art supplies are, and actually the litter box for the cats.
Oh, we just figured it was adding ambiance to the pole, but okay.
No, it covers up ugly shit behind the thing, and then when I'm recording or teaching classes for pole, they don't need to be looking at like all the bullshit that's behind that. So
okay, so explain the pole dancing part of your history degree.
So I've been dancing since I was like a little kid. I did like the ballet, tap, jazz, everything when you're little, and I did Latin ballroom in like high school and college, and then like just 3 years ago, oh my gosh, my poleversary, I'm gonna be 4 years in May. We call it our poleversary because we're all, polars are dorky like that, we're cool like that, and
that is the first time I've ever heard that.
My poleversary is in May.
Have you ever heard that before, Danielle? A poleversary?
No, I'm trying to get. I'm just poleversary. That's
the anniversary of when I started polling. Yeah, as in May. So almost 4 years ago, I just one of my really best friends, Christelle, she and I have always worked out together because I'm also a Zumba instructor. I've been teaching Zumba since 2011, and she and I have been taking Zumba together since 2007 and blah, blah, blah. But she was like, let's try pole. And I was like, fuck yeah, let's try pole. It is the best workout I have ever gotten. It combines strength and grace and agility and flexibility. It is the hardest thing I've ever done. And I have been athletic and dancing. I did martial arts when I was younger. Like I've been pretty athletic my whole life. And this is the hardest shit I've ever done.
You're the second author I've talked to that's done this.
Oh, really?
The second author I've talked to. Yeah.
Who's the other one?
Who's the author you talked to that does this?
I did a podcast. Cheryl did it, and she was an author who was interviewing me, and she pole dances, and she's been pole dancing for years, and she said the same thing. She was like, "You should totally try it." She's like, "Authors love this," and I'm like, "It's an author thing?" And she was like, "Yeah, it's totally an author thing."
I didn't know it was. I don't know that many authors who pole dance, so I need to Cheryl. I don't know. You have to send me. Email me.
You got to create an entire community called Authors Who Pole Dance. I think that should be like
author polls.
People have.
I should. Well, because I have on my social, I have a pole dancing account. I have 3 different accounts. I have a cosplay account, none of which are personal. I have a cosplay account, an author account, and a pole dancing account. And the cosplay account is essentially dead in the water because I don't really like, I still cosplay, but it's just for fun, so I don't bother to keep up with it so much. But like the pole dancing, I'm teaching classes, I'm learning and taking classes, and then of course the author thing I am most active on. But yeah, I love that, and it is absolutely, it is so much fun. You get a lot of satisfaction over like being able to tell people, it's like, yeah, I can lift my own, like I can go upside down on nothing but the power of my own abs, like, and then like
impressive.
Squeezing with one armpit.
That's impressive.
Yeah, no, everyone who's done that or done any classes like that has told me that it is the most intense workout they've ever done. Because I think it's a lot like yoga in regards to you're using your own body strength to do everything. So it's not like, when you do weights or you have a machine or anything else, you have to use your own body strength. I did hot yoga for years, and I hope to find a hot yoga place up here. But man, that shit will tire you out doing stuff that is like almost nothing. You're like, bend this one little way, but you somehow have to hold yourself up and you're like, I'm gonna die. So
you're exactly right, because I do yoga for conditioning. Once a week I do yoga. I take classes from my friend, her name is Monica, but she's vegan pole dancer online, and she's an amazing yoga instructor, but she's also an amazing, beautiful pole dancer as well. And I fucking love it. And you're exactly right about that. It is, you are using your own condition. And then when you're dancing, because you're not supposed to make it look like it's difficult, like in your heart, you are like grunting in pain, but you have to remain like, oh yeah, this is nothing. Like you're supposed to remain serene.
Calm in the storm.
Yeah. It's like, shh. It's like, but no. You are like, I am on fire right now. Like everything in my body wants to break. But then outside, you're supposed to be, oh, yes, this was that aerial split was so easy. Oh, it's like, no, it's not. But it's
Erica, let's do a pole dancing class. Let's make all the authors, like we're all gonna come together and do a pole dancing class. Let's do it.
You should.
I think we should do it, and I don't think most of us will survive, but I appreciate the enthusiasm, because I think you will, Danielle. The rest of us will like
do it.
We're like, cool. We leaned against the pole. Look at us. Look at us. We did.
Danielle, you tell me if you want to email me what your area is, I will find you a pole studio.
Yes.
Yeah,
do it.
Because,
we're gonna do this.
Yeah, I will send you. You tell me where you are. I will find you pole studios, because my
Charlotte, North Carolina.
Like they're all over the place, and I got the pole community is awesome. FYI, they're like such good people, and many people don't realize how accomplished there are a lot of doctors. Like I know surgeons who are pole dancers, and like people have like my nurse is like, do you know how many nurses do pole? Like so many.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
I can see that. That does surprise me.
Danielle's also a nurse, so
yeah. There's
Danielle's all the things. She's the hero. She's everything. Okay, so she'll send you her information. I'll give her your information. You'll find each other. The pole dancing will document.
And I'll find you a studio, because I think everyone should try it at least once, because I'm like, again, as somebody who like was pretty athletic and strong. When I started pole dancing like almost 4 years ago, I was like, okay, I should be able to do certain things a little bit more easily just because of my background and like martial arts and all this shit.
No,
it was still like the first time I had to pull myself up with just using my own, like pull my own body weight up. I was like, oh shit, I am not as good as I think I am.
Nice.
It takes you a little bit, but in a good way. And then you get stronger. And then, yeah, it's good. And then you get all these bruises, but that's okay, because those are just battle scars and what we lovingly call pole kisses.
Once a new term again, Erica.
I'm learning so many things today that I won't remember because of the wine.
Anniversary, pole kisses.
Pole kiss. We also have pole mamas. Like, so my original pole mama is a wonderful woman named Gina, who I'm still great friends with. And I still take classes, but yeah, she's the first person who like taught me pole. And then you have your pole sisters, who are the people that you like pole with all the time. I don't know.
Erica, we're gonna be pole sisters.
We
Hell
can be
yeah,
cool sisters.
I'll send you both like my poll social media, because I'm like,
Yeah, send that to us so we can do that. We'll share it. Okay. So this is supposed to be rapid fire. We've gone down a rabbit hole for most of this rapid fire episode so far. So go team.
Sorry.
That's not your fault. I think people will be like, what is happening?
I take the blame. It's okay.
No, it's okay. I do not care. Me and this blackberry, by the way, it's really, really good. Like it's not very sweet. And as you can see,
Yeah, you're liking it.
I'm loving it. I'm going to stop myself though until I eat something, because I have to cook what I eat, and I don't think I should have the whole bottle before I do that.
Mhm.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Good idea.
What is your favorite book of all time?
Oh, I at this moment, I will say probably The Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett.
Why?
Every time I reread it, I find something new. And he is a historian who writes historical fiction, and he's also accurate. And I believe that he gives accurate portrayals. His characters are so well developed, because I don't know, I just love it. It's such a story that I am surprised every time I read it, and I have read it like 4 times.
Very cool. What about your least favorite book?
Oh, things I never finished, probably. Let me think. I can't even remember the title of it. I just was like, fuck this book so much. Probably the least favorite book I ever read was a Harlequin romance when I was younger. I was like in middle school or early high school. I don't remember what it was, but like a 14 or 15-year-old, I remember stopping halfway through because I was like, this is bullshit. And I just couldn't even with the characters. Even as a teenager who was completely inexperienced in relationships and everything else, I was just like, it was about a woman whose husband had like disappeared for years, and then this other guy who was a good guy was coming on the scene, and then her husband came back and they were fighting over her, and she was being a complete airhead about the whole situation. And I was like, I couldn't even finish it. I was like, what is this idiot doing? I was like, I know I'm a kid, but this adult woman is fucking dumb. And I can't deal with like, did she forget that her husband fucking left for 3 years and didn't give her a goddamn explanation or anything? Like, fuck that guy. I don't know. I was so mad. I was old before my time. And
I appreciate that. But
yeah. So, and I remember I was getting really frustrated in the middle, and then I was like, okay, it's going to be worth it if she ends up with the right person, like with the good guy who's done nothing but be supportive and kind and like be a good person. And then I turned to the last page and she ended up with her like husband, and I was like, I don't even care, because there's nothing that he could say or do that would ever make up for the fact of how he left and what there was nothing. I don't care if it was like super secret spy, it doesn't matter, none of that, because he was a total dick to his wife and he never apologized. No.
Dumb.
That you just were bored with this book.
Yeah, no, very, very viscerally bored.
Okay, I'm gonna make Danielle ask her infamous question now.
Oh, my infamous. Okay, there we go. If you could meet one of these 3 cryptids in order to prove its existence, which one would it be? Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster, or an alien?
Loch Ness Monster.
That's the correct answer for Danielle, for the record.
Not that it's biased or anything.
No,
and why would it be Nessie?
Don't answer that correctly. She won't post your episode. So
okay. So I actually wrote a paper on St. Columba of Scotland. Do you know this story, Danielle?
Yes, he's the first one. Yes, 1531.
The first sighting of Nessie.
Yes.
Was from St. Columba, the year 625.
Oh, 620. Yes.
Yeah. And so I wrote, and that made it to my paper. And that paper was published by the university, just at FYI.
So you're gonna have to send us this story now.
So, well, it's a very quick little story. So Saint Columba of Iona, who was, by the way, really fun and interesting. The saints are pretty cool. Just a lot of people are like, oh, they were just holy men. It's like, yeah, they were all like God believers. Some really cool shit too. Like they did, like Saint Columba was like a very ornery Irishman who like went to Scotland and built a monastery, and like he did some wild shit. He cursed like a fucking sailor. He was, he was godly, but like he was rough. And he was going around performing miracles and doing the things. And he had his little scribe dude, and they were at Loch Ness, where there was a monster in the lake that would eat people, right? Nessie. And so St. Columba was there, and he saw a fisherman in the boat, and the monster was coming toward, or no, the fisherman like fell out of the boat or something, but the monster was coming toward. And St. Columba stood on the shore and basically like held up the cross or did whatever he did. And he commanded the Loch Ness monster not to do that shit. He was like, you will not, I forget the exact words, but like, he was like, you will not do this. You do not eat people. Like, you stop that right now. Bad. And, and the monster was like cowed by St. Columba. And then from then on, it did not eat people anymore. It still existed.
But there was no longer a fatality.
It was no longer a fatality monster. It was fine. And they were all like, thanks, St. Columba, you stopped us all like getting eaten all the time at Loch Ness. and that's one of the reasons. But also Nessie, I also believe in Bigfoot and aliens, but I totally think that Nessie is real in some context or another, and I desperately want to know what the context is, because there are so many theories that could be true. I don't know about the dinosaur thing, but I do know, I mean, they're all
the whale's penis thing, because that's my favorite explanation.
Which one?
The whale's penis.
Oh God. That's hilarious.
Seriously, they talk about blue whales will mate there, and they mate in threes. People don't realize it. They mate in 2 males and a female. And when they're in between, whatever, the males will roll over on their back and their dicks will go up and kind of flop over, but they're fucking huge. So they look like the neck and the head of Nessie.
And the fin of the flipper. Oh, that is
there's a whole documentary on this. You can look it up.
I haven't seen that one, and I'm going to. Yeah, that's the other one is like sturgeons or sturgeons.
The sturgeon, they said no, because when they did the DNA sample of the water, no sturgeons showed up and no coelacanths showed up.
Okay.
So they said it's not that. Then a recent one came up about the eels and said there's no eel DNA in there that says that they could grow that big. So we disproved the eel theory as well.
But the whale penis, that actually has some merit, I will say.
I'm super excited to say whale penis whenever I can in relation to this. I think Nessie could be definitely something other than that based on what everybody's seen and done. And I firmly believe we haven't seen everything. There was a news article. I do another podcast called Eerie Travels where we talk about just weird shit. But there was a news story recently where they're not calling it Sasquatch, they're calling it like a mutant ape human thing that people have seen. So apparently this picture was actually taken several years ago, and several residents saw this creature, like interacted with it, but it was never reported. And it's sort of like a mutated like gorilla thing that walks on 2 legs and is very hairy and whatever. And there's a satellite picture of this thing that got taken. So I firmly believe there are things out there that we just don't know what they are. Now, whether they're naturally based, there's cave systems all over this country in our mountains where things could be, or they, like, I hate to say it, but there was, for instance, a group of Germans, Nazis, that mutated and tried to bring back old DNA. They're not the only ones that could have been doing this. They're horrific assholes and fuck them, but they're not the only ones, because they brought back 2 or 3 creatures, and like they're bringing back, publicizing, they're bringing back the giant elephants. What are they
Oh,
called?
the woolly mammoths. Yeah, I saw
The
I
woolly
saw
mammoths,
something
yes.
about- Yeah, which
Yeah.
I'm just
So-
like, can we just stop fucking with the science and just like let these things.
Did we
do
learn
not
nothing
die
from
out
Jurassic Park?
Yeah, exactly. Have we learned nothing? It's like,
No. Did you not see there's like 10 of those fucking movies? Of course they've learned nothing. They're not making, what did he say? I'm not making the same mistakes. No, you're making all new ones. Like,
Yes.
you know what we need to do is give it more teeth. Yeah, that's a great plan.
Yeah.
That's a
Make
fucking
it
brilliant
bigger,
plan.
make it
smarter, with
Good
more
job.
teeth. That's the way we go.
That's how we're gonna
Did
do
you
it.
ever
That's
see
how
the
we get
movie?
ourselves extinct.
Yeah, exactly. Did you ever see the movie Deep Blue Sea?
Oh yes, I was just thinking
LL
of
Cool
that.
J?
Yes. One of my
There we
favorite
go.
movies to show people, and let's not reveal the ending, but it's one of my favorite movies to show people and go, at the party scene, I go, who do you think is going to survive this? 2 people survive. Tell me who you think is going to survive this. Nobody ever guesses it fucking correctly, right? But what's interesting to me about that movie is her line. It is the best line where she goes, there's a side effect, the sharks got smarter. I'm glad you considered that a fucking side effect.
Side
That's
effect.
That's a great thing.
Oh,
Let's increase a shark's brain by 100 times, because that sounds like a good plan.
yeah, really.
Well, they
Well,
do
and you
it.
know, it's funny that movie when it first came out years ago, which I love that film, but my brother was trying to get his girlfriend at the time to go see it with him, and she wasn't really into shark movies, and I was like sitting near him when he described this, and she was like, well, what's it about? And he was like, no, it's about it's really cool. It's about a bunch of sharks that get smarter and then they eat people. And she was like, I do not want to see that movie. Well, you're not wrong, but also there's a better way.
No, there's a better way to describe it. And I think a lot of people, that happens to be one of those gems that people miss, because it actually has a brilliant fucking cast.
It does.
But the premise totally goes to the fact that people do shit with like one idea in mind, right? Which is, and I'm not fucking stealing anything from this movie, go see it, that they're going to cure Alzheimer's.
Yes,
right?
that
That's
was it.
the idea,
Alzheimer's.
but they need the
Yep.
protein from shark brains to cure Alzheimer's. This is all revealed within the first fucking 15 minutes, so I'm not stolen.
Spoiler. The movie
premise of
came
this-
out in like 2000 or something.
Yeah.
Like I think we're if
But
you're in a
the
20
I- the whole point though is that you get so, and it's true, I think, unfortunately, fucking with science. It's true with Jurassic Park too. Singularly focused, that you do not think about the fucking ramifications of everything else. You do not take the 10 steps back to go, wait a minute, is this a fucking good idea or not?
Mhm.
And
Yep.
nobody ever does that. Okay. Oh my gosh, we're almost through this entire episode and we've asked like 3 questions. Okay, I'm going to ask you another question. What is your favorite outfit to wear when you're writing?
Ooh.
Something comfortable. I don't know. I like wearing comfortable dresses with like long socks and probably a big chunky cardigan and boots or something, because I usually write at cafes, so I have to look somewhat presentable.
I like it. What about your favorite snack while you're writing?
Ooh. Okay. I go to this one specific cafe that's a mile from my house, and it's owned by this wonderful couple. And the woman, the wife, she makes everything from scratch, and she makes these delicious Korean egg buns, which are like a beautiful dough. I forget what they're called in Korean. I'd have to look it up for you. But in the traditional Korean egg bun, it's like a hard-boiled egg in the middle. She does egg salad in the middle, which I love. I know not everyone does. I love it. And so I get like this like hot, like delicious Korean egg bun with my cup of coffee, and it's perfect.
Well, sounds perfect. Okay, Danielle, I'm going to ask one more and then you're going to get the final one. If you
Got
could
it.
travel anywhere, no matter what the cost and everything, you can just go wherever you want to, where would you go?
Oh God, that's such a hard question. How dare. I've traveled a lot. I'm a Navy brat. I've been to well over 35 countries. I would, okay, First thing that comes to mind is honestly, I would go back to the UK. I fucking love it there.
I love the UK. I love the food in the UK. A lot of people don't say that, but I fucking love the food.
The food is really good. The British food gets a bad rap, but honestly, like, who dislikes comfort food? Because that's what British food is. Like, hello, potatoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree 100%. I agree. Okay, Danielle, final question.
Favorite book to movie TV adaptation?
Jurassic Park.
Yeah, a lot of people say that, and I don't fucking agree with that at all.
Yeah, a lot of people don't, but I think it's because I saw the movie first.
Is the first Jurassic Park?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
see, they took a book that was not a children's book by any stretch of the fucking imagination, and they made it into a children's movie. And FYI, in the spirit of things, that is not what happens in the fucking book.
No, it is not. But I did see the movie first when I read the book 11 or 12. And I loved the movie. And then I read the book a couple of years later, and I also loved the book. And they are different, but because I still loved the movie, because I think when you see the movie first.
Oh no, I think the movie is
better.
brilliant, and it's beautiful, and it got everybody loving dinosaurs again, and it's, don't get me wrong, I think it's great. I just don't think it's the book. You know, like, it took the name of the characters and stuff, but like a lot of people don't realize, spoiler alert, the dinosaurs are off the fucking island, which is what starts the entire people showing up at the island to go, what the fuck is happening? Because babies have died in Costa Rica because more than the comfies are off the fucking island.
Yes.
And they figure this out. So yeah.
The book is, they're both, it's worth a watch and it's really worth a read. But as far as, because it is an adaptation, that's my favorite. Lord of the Rings, that I feel that's a good, the Peter Jackson version, the trilogy there. I feel like that was a really, that's my second one, probably. There were so many. I don't know. A lot of the adaptations are just like make you so sad and angry and but yeah, there are some really good ones out there.
No, and one of our previous co-hosts, Chelsea, said it brilliantly, that if you treat the movies as if they're fan fiction from the books, you'll be in a good place.
That's a wonderful way to put it.
Because you'll never get everything from a movie into a TV show or, the book to movie TV show. Okay. Shameless self-promotion time. Let's talk about again where your books and where to find you and where to find your books.
So where to find me on social media, Instagram at Hollis Joe McCollum, and then my website, hollisjoemccollumauthor.com, my YouTube channel, Hollis Joe McCollum, author. Everything is under the same name so that you can pretty much find me all the time. So, that's a marketing tip for anyone trying to build like a little thing. My LinkedIn, again, the same. So everything is basically under my pen name. And then my books, To Save a World, which the re-release will be coming in late spring, early summer, but that's available presently on Amazon and barnesandnoble.com and basically wherever books are sold. Goodreads is a great place to find it and find the retailers. My second book, Spare the Swallow, which was released October of 2022. That is out also Amazon and barnesandnoble.com. And, they're both on the Ingram list. So if you just want to go to like your local independent bookstore and be like, I want this one, they can order it for you. And then you support your local bookstores too, which I like to do. So.
Yeah.
I agree. Very cool. Thank you so much for being on the podcast with us. It has been wonderful having you.
Ooh, I loved it. I really enjoyed myself. Thank you. And that blackberry wine does look tasty. I might have to go look up some of that stuff.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
A lot of these fruit wines are way too sweet. Like I feel like they just fucking add sugar to it.
Yeah, it's just juice.
Yeah, this is not way too sweet. It's a fruit table wine. It says so right on the label. I don't know what the fuck a table wine means, but whatever, it sounds brilliant.
Don't all the glasses go on a table? Never mind.
I seriously, it's on a table right now versus a fruit floor wine or something. I'm sure there's a technical thing. Somebody can post us about it. It's fine. Then we'll figure it out. Guys, this has been Drinking with Authors, the Literary Briefs edition. I have been your host, Erica Lance. My co-host has been the amazing Danielle M. Orsino. Don't forget to like, subscribe, review, leave a comment. Our guest has been Hollis, Joe McCollum, and we will see you next time.